Dr. Samar?
Yes, Doctor. Samar,
You can start right now.
sorry? Yeah, you can start. We are live, so if you want to start, it's okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
before you start, I want to say thank you for you. We are grateful to you that you accepted our invitation today.
Oh, welcome. My pleasure. So I guess it's time to start right now. Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. The topic that we are going to talk about today is personal and professional developments, and the title of the presentation is A Quest for Meaning, Seeking Personal and Professional Development. I hope that everyone can hear me very well. If there is an issue about the video or my voice, just please don't mind to mention it. Dr. Samar, how much time do I have? Because I just want to know if I should go.
You can do it from 1 hour to 1 hour and a half.
Great, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
Dr.
I am, thank you. I'm Dr. Abdelaziz Duhigg from Hassan First University of Studies in Morocco. You can see a few pictures of mine here, and a few pictures and a few things that represent what I have been doing lately. So I'm a doctor in education, especially the social psychology of education. At the same time, I'm a coach. I have a coaching diploma from a European School of Coaching in Paris. And I've been teaching for about, I think we need to just mute people. Sorry. So I have been teacher since 2002. So I've been teaching for about 20 years now. You can see a picture of me with my students over here. I am a father of a daughter who is 5 years old, whose name is Yaqut. And I've been speaking in different conferences in Morocco and around the world about education and research methods and coaching as well. And I prefer to talk about myself today as a co-founder of a non-governmental organization or a non-profit organization called Africa Voice Dialogue that tries to amplify the voices of educators in Africa and connect Africans to the world. We've been running sessions in this organization around different issues in education every 2 months. So I would be very, very happy to see some of you joining us someday. But you see, as one of the pictures says, I'm a human. I'm only human after all, as the song says. This is the most important part of who we are. We are humans. Now, I want to look at what meaning means in the 21st century. So what is meaning, seeking meaning in the 21st century? I think it's very, very important to ask the question of meaning every time we're doing something. Whenever we're doing what we're doing, we're just asking the question, why are we doing it? And what is the meaning behind all what we're doing? Or we ask, what is the meaning of our existence? But we may ask questions about what is the meaning of what we're doing as well. So I want to relate this to personal development, casting some light on our shadows, as we might say, trying to understand who we are and trying to develop ourselves personally, and then seeking professional growth. It means to seek professional growth and to reinvent ourselves through innovation. And then probably before that, we will talk about building an MTP. I've been working on this presentation for quite some time now, and each time I am changing the order of things or adding a few things or deleting things. And this is not a research-based presentation. It's a coaching presentation, rather. And it's not only geared to or addressed to professors or teachers. It is addressed to all of us, whether we are teachers or not, in all fields of life. And generally speaking, the first part of it is addressed to every human being, every single human being. And I am sharing some of the ideas I have read in books or seen in videos or worked used as assignments or workshops or exercises in coaching as I coach people. But I've kind of combined a set of ideas together in one whole package, and it'll be very, very hard to give details about each point. So what we will do is that I will try to focus on the ones that I think I should focus on, and then there are some ideas that I will give flashes of. And if you have questions, we can discuss them either today or later. You can get in touch with me. You will have my email, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook or on the social platforms that we are in. And we can even talk on WhatsApp if you want to share your WhatsApp, or if you want me to share my WhatsApp number. We can connect so that we can help each other grow and develop and learn. So to start with, I have a video. I'm not sure if you're going to watch the video with me. It's a 3-minute video. So if it's not playing, just tell me that it's not playing. I will start with this video. I will just let you watch it, and then we'll talk about it after a while. Okay, I think that the video is not going to play probably because of, I'm not sure if it's because I'm sharing the screen or because I'm trying to play it, but it doesn't play. But it's not a problem. So what this video is about, it's a scene from one of the movies by Charlie Chaplin. This is called The Circus. And generally speaking, Charlie Chaplin is in a circus, and all of a sudden he finds himself clothed in a cage with a lion, and he's going to try to get himself out of that cage by all means. I hope you will watch, if you have never watched this scene, you will watch it later to draw.
Sorry, Dr. Abdulaziz, I'm sorry.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if you just want to share the video, when you just go to share screen, click on sharing video from outside. I mean, when you share the screen, you will have this option, so you can click on the icon for that.
I see what you mean. So we have, okay, so share. Should I stop sharing first?
Yeah, share it again, and you will find down.
Yes, share screen, and then
you find video down.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yes, exactly. I have optimized for video clip and then share sound. Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's it.
Awesome. But it's still not playing, my friend. I think I didn't get your instructions right, probably. So let me try again.
If you just want to send the video, I'm gonna share it from here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So
Or
there is a way we can do it. Hold on. There is a way we can do it. It'll be easier. So I'll just, okay, if you bear with me, I'll go to the video on YouTube and then share it with you very quickly. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Yep, it's working now.
So actually, each time I see this video, I'm learning more from it. Why I am using it? For many reasons. I'm using it for many reasons. The first one is that the situation we are in today in the world is not a simple situation. We do not live in a simple world. We do not live in a compound world. We live in a complex world. The world we live in today is a complex world. So the scene from the circus is a complex, very, very complex scene. It's a very, very complex situation. If you have seen the video with me, you've seen that in this complex situation, what Charlie Chaplin wanted, he was not interested in knowing the lion, because he already knows who the lion is. So what matters here is what you're going to do. How are you going to deal with the situation? What are the resources you have? What are the capacities you have built? I think what I'm saying now is very interesting. I'm going to share it again, but it's really very, very interesting. So what capacities have you developed as a human being? What kind of person are you? What resources do you have? So when we look at, for example, the way he used the water, the way he asked help from the lady who was outside the cage, these strategies, what strategies do you have? What strategies have you developed to deal with the situation you are in? So all these are important questions that may help us understand the meaning of what we want to do, of personal development and professional development. So if I am in a circus and all of a sudden I find myself, which is a place of joy, generally speaking, it's a place of joy. A circus, people go to the circus to have fun. But if you find yourself in a cage with a lion, so you're not going to think of fun, of course. You're going to think of, the only thing you're going to think of is survival. So as you can read in this slide that we see today, in German concentration camps, as in those that would later be built in Japan and Korea, psychiatrists, and of course in all places that live the same situation, psychiatrists confirmed that the prisoners with the greatest chance of survival were those who had things they wanted to accomplish outside the camp. So people who had a purpose, something to achieve outside the camp. So you have something to achieve outside the cage. So you have meaning. So your life has meaning. So that's why you want to save yourself. You want to use all the strategies on all the capacities, all the kind of all the kind of help that you're given to just get yourself out of that quagmire or out of that complex situation. And the world we live in, it's something that we need to underline and highlight. The world we live in today is a complex world. We'll get into more details later. Now, what do we mean by meaning? What do I mean by meaning when I talk about meaning? When you do research about meaning, you find a number of frameworks that talk about meaning, and a number of researchers and scholars who have dealt with meaning. There are books that talk about meaning. But I like the one to the left, so the left side. When you look at meaning at the center, if you look at the center, you're going to find pre-meaning, which is focused on personal pleasure and growth. So when you're just focused on yourself, this is pre-meaning. If you're focused on yourself, if you're focused on only yourself, your interests, what you want, your desires, and so on and so forth. So you're dealing with pre-meaning. And then there is meaning in life. So meaning in life, if you look at meaning in life, there are a number of things. Some of them are concepts, some others are values, yes? So, but when we go beyond the personal, we go to the relational and to the social and the universal. So that's meaning in life. That's what we are dealing with today. That's what I'm dealing with today in my presentation. So I'm not dealing with meaning of life, which is the religious, spiritual part of meaning. So I'm not dealing with it because I'm not apt to talk about it. But what I'm talking about now is meaning in life. So how we should try to identify meaning in life so that we live this life the way we want to live it. Not just because we are here, not just because we are alive, but we need to focus on a number of other issues, not just us. So we should go beyond the pre-meaning. If we go beyond the pre-meaning, so we focus on other issues like justice, like tradition, like morality, like culture, like generativity, society, nature, the others who live with us, and so on and so forth. So we go beyond that. And then we look at happiness and what it means. So people sometimes people are puzzled when they are asked the question, are you happy? And sometimes the answer yes, other times the answer no, but without really understanding the meaning of happiness. Well, we're not going to generalize. Some people might know the meaning of happiness. When I did my research, I found that there are many frameworks, but this framework, this happiness framework, comes up with 3 types of happiness. So the first one is pleasure. So when you are focused on yourself, so that's pleasure. When you do something and you're happy, that is to say you feel the pleasure of living a pleasurable experience. Then you go beyond pleasure because you have a passion. If you have a passion in life and you are living for that passion, so that's flow and engagement. Why flow? Because you are highly motivated to work towards that passion and you are achieving something because you are passionate about it. And there is the higher purpose and meaning. So that's probably the meaning of life we're talking about here. Sorry, the meaning in life we're talking about here, which is building part of something bigger than yourself. So that's happiness. That's not happiness. That's joy. Scholars define it as joy. So it goes beyond happiness because happiness can be limited to your passion and your pleasure. But then you go beyond happiness, you live joy when you define or you identify a purpose that is higher than you and a purpose that is bigger than yourself. So that's what we're focused on. Now, in order to do this, the first thing we should start with is understanding ourselves. So we cast light on our shadow, who we are. So learn to know yourself, to search realistically and regularly the processes of your own mind and feelings, as Nelson Mandela said. But how do we do it, or where do we start? What should we focus on if we want to understand ourselves? Everybody tells us, okay, you have to learn about yourself, you have to understand yourself, you have to be aware of who you are. Generally in coaching, we focus on a number of issues, yes? But first, I would like you to, I don't know if you have a paper and a pen. If you do, so I would like you to do this. I would like you to define what we call a transformative purpose. So what we will do is write one thing you want to see transforming in yourself, personally and professionally. You can do this very quickly if you have a pen. If you don't, just think about one thing you want to see transforming in yourself, personally and professionally. What is one thing you want to see transforming in your relationships, friends, family, colleagues, etc.? What is one thing you want to see transforming at work? And what is one thing you want to see transforming in the world as a whole? We can share this once I have finished. We can share answers to these questions or those things that you have written, if you have written them. If you haven't, try to remember them, and then we'll talk about them. Now, we should focus when we want to understand ourselves on 3 questions, or to identify meaning or to define meaning on 3 questions. 1, why? The second, how? And the third, what? So what am I doing? Or what am I developing in myself? Or what do I want to change? Or what aspects do I want to change in my life? Or what things do I want to see changing in the world? And then the second question is how? How do I think this should change? Or how do I think I should develop? And the third question is why? Why do I want these things to develop and change and transform and so on and so forth? These are important questions that focus on reason, action, and impact. So what is the reason? What is the action? What is the impact I want to see in the world? So what is the action that I want to take, or what is the thing that I want to change? Why? So what is the reason? And how? And what is the impact? It is also about the why. Now, some of the questions we may ask as well to understand who we are is, why do you want to achieve these things? As I said, what are the values that push you forward to these objectives? What are the obstacles you see standing in front of you? And what and who can help you achieve what you want to achieve? Now, generally speaking, in coaching, when we want people to learn about themselves, or we focus people's attention on understanding themselves, we focus on 4 things, 4 forces that shape us. So the first one is values. What are your values? What are your needs first? Yes, what are your needs? And then what are your values? What are your beliefs? What are your limitations? Keeping in mind that the needs can be at different levels. They can be psychological, they can be social, they can be etc., etc. But you need to identify them. So identifying the needs is very, very, very important for you as a human being. Or when you're doing what you're doing, you just ask yourself a question: what needs am I trying to fulfill? And the answer to the question is very, very important. It gives you meaning because it tells you whether this need should be fulfilled or not. If it should be fulfilled, because needs that are fulfilled provide us with joy, needs that are not fulfilled provide us with sorrow or sadness. But then understanding those needs very well and understanding why we want to fulfill them is primordial, is very, very important. Then there are values, because the values are going to guide us in our journey. So we need to identify our values. What are our values? What are the values that drive us? If we don't understand our values, it's a problem. If we don't, everybody has values, yes? It's funny sometimes that some people may say, I have values, if you don't like them, I have others, yes. But values are the backbone of your life. They guide you towards your life. And understanding them helps you understand why you're doing what you're doing. Why do you get angry? Why do you get happy? Why do you have conflicts with people? Why do you get along with some people and you don't get along with others, and so on and so forth? So they make you understand a lot of things in your life. Then there are beliefs. We need to remember that beliefs are divided into 2 types. There are beliefs that are limiting. So there are beliefs that we hold that limit us, that do not let us grow and develop and succeed and do and take action. And there are beliefs that are helpful or helping. They help us grow, succeed, live a happy life, and so on and so forth, or reach joy that we talked about. The same thing for limitations. Limitations are sometimes helpful, sometimes they are not helpful. So there are limitations that are limiting, there are limitations that are helping us grow. So I'm not going to go into the details here, but I focus on some of the issues, mainly the first 2 components, which are needs and values. Now, some of the questions we may ask about values, and I'll do the same thing. So if you have a pen and a paper, or if you have your phone where you can take notes, you can write very quickly what values are essential to your life. Probably 3 or 4 values that are essential to your lives. What values represent your primary way of being? So when you think of yourself, If you can mute yourself, please. Can you mute yourself, please? So what values are essential to your life? What values represent your primary way of being? And what values are essential to supporting your inner self? These are important questions to ask about values. So in order to grow personally at the personal level, and of course at the professional level as well, because we cannot separate the two, but I just wanted to focus more on the personal level at the beginning in the first part. But this is also related to the second part, which is the professional level. It also relates to values. But generally speaking, these are the questions we need to focus on. Now, what values drive my decisions and behavior? Generally speaking, what I want people to do is list 5 core values. What are 5 core values that you have? Sometimes people have difficulty defining what values are. Yes. So of course, values are like family is a value, courage is a value, perseverance is a value, success is a value, and so on and so forth. Justice is a value, honesty is a value. So there are lists of values. Sometimes if you Google them, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of values. But there are some values that are core values. They represent the most important values to us. And human beings differ in terms of how they prioritize the values. So if you list 5 core values now, try to rank them in order of importance. Which ones are going to be on the top of the list? Which ones are going to be at the bottom of the list? Dr. Samar? Dr. Samar?
Hello, doctor.
Can you mute everyone and then
yeah, it was my suggestion. Yeah.
Okay. So mute everyone and then I will unmute myself.
Done, sir.
Thank you. So rank them in order of importance. This is an exercise we do in coaching when we want, as I said, to help people work on themselves. So we ask them to list 5 core values, rank them in order of importance, and then assess how well you are honoring each value by scoring each one on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 represents optimally living the value. What that means is, if, for example, I have seen in the chat box, someone wrote, it's Hadir, I think, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, Wissam wrote, actually, my values such as family, equality, and loyalty. And then if I look at equality, for example, or family, and then I said, thank you, Hadir. So if I want you to focus on family, and then say, and ask you how, to what extent, to what measure, to what level are you honoring this value? What do you do to honor this value? So if you have family as a value, it means you care for them, you visit them, you help them, you love them. So you collaborate with your family, and you're going to do everything it takes to help your family be happy and joyful, and so on and so forth. So to what extent, if you are going to scale, to honor, to measure how you are honoring that value, is it 10? Is it 6? Is it 7? Is it 4? Is it 3? Now, people tend to focus on 10 first. But if you go through what you're doing, really what you're doing, are you satisfied with what you're doing? To what extent you're satisfied with what you're doing when it comes to the value you've chosen? You may be surprised sometimes, like it happens very often in workshops and in seminars sometimes, and in personal coaching, that sometimes people tell you, okay, it's 9, and then they say, no, I think it's 4, because I've thought about it. It's not 9, it's 4. So yeah, then if it's below 7, what changes do you need to make? We call this an action plan. So set an action plan for yourself based on this value. What changes do you need to make? And what has to happen for you to further honor this value? It's an important question. So what should I do? And think of small steps. Do not think of big actions. think of very, very small actions. So if we go back to the family, for example, me today, I've been telling myself, I have to go visit mom today. I have to go visit mom today. It's a very small action, but it's an action that will help me honor this value further. So focus on those small actions, because small actions will lead you to bigger actions. Now, the next step is to test the ecology of your values. How do these values make you feel? Do they make you feel joyful? Do they make you feel happy? Or do they just give you pleasure? Because that's what we should keep in mind. We should always keep in mind this interval between pleasure, yes, happiness and joy. So pleasure is, it's like something that makes me feel pleasure. But then, does it make you feel happy? Okay, because is it part of your passion? And then, does it make you feel joyful? Because it's something that is bigger than yourself. It's not just you. It's not just yourself. Does it make you feel really joyful because you're doing something bigger? Do you feel they are consistent with who you are? Are these values consistent with who you are, who you want to be as a human being? Are they personal to you? Are they your values? Are they personal to you? Or did you just borrow them from someone else? Do you see any values that feel inconsistent with your identity? It's important. This is meaning. So meaning means understanding yourself and understanding why you do things, and based on those values, as if they belong to someone else, like an authority figure or society, and not you. So is it part of your identity, or is it just part of an authority or a figure, or have you inherited them? So this is really important to get to understand ourselves, how we want to live in harmony with ourselves, in harmony with our identities. Then you check your priority ranking. Do you feel like your values are in the proper order of importance? Because it's important to prioritize sometimes. Say, these are my values. Then I prioritize them in terms of importance and which ones are more important to me. So that's a very, very helpful exercise to do with yourself, and then work on it. And until you get a wheel of values that will help you see who you are. Sorry. Now, when we talk about needs, it's important to understand that we all have needs. We have different types of needs, and these needs are important to us because satisfied needs generate joy. There are many frameworks that explain those needs. You can Google them. I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but what I want to explain is, generally speaking, for example, when we are dealing with ourselves in different generations, if you have kids, for example, you want to understand why a kid is crying. Most of times people would shout at a kid and just ask that kid to shut up, yes? And if you go further and try to understand what is behind the cry, you will probably get into a need of that kid. Probably there is a need somewhere. There is a question. If you look at this graph here to the left, it is by Erikson. He worked on psychological needs, and he just created needs for every generation, for every age range. And as you see, when I ask people, for example, about something like autonomy, and I tell them, at what age should we start developing our kids' autonomy? And of course, the answers will vary. But if you look at the framework here, what you will see is that kids need autonomy at a very, very early age. They need to be autonomous at early childhood. I guess you see this with me, yes? So at early childhood, there is a conflict between two things. There is a conflict between autonomy versus shame and doubt. Now, if your kid, for example, when my kid was 2 years old, or probably 3, I'm not sure. But this is something, if you are a father or a mom, you have already noticed this. Even if you are not a parent, you have already noticed this. That the kids, for example, just as one example, they want to put on their shoes by themselves. And sometimes the parents intervene and they say, no, you're not going to do this. I know how to do it. You don't know how to do it. So if you do this, you have already blocked one need. which is the need to develop autonomy, and you are developing shame and doubt. But that's just one example. There are other basic psychological needs, as you see on the right side, that need to be met. So once the basic physical needs are met, people strive to meet the psychological needs, which are higher on Maslow's pyramid of human needs, of course. And so psychological needs are needs related to the mind and feelings that must be met in order to live a satisfying life. We have human beings who have, for example, a need for loneliness from time to time. They need to be lonely. They need to have this solitude. And if this feeling is not satisfied or is not met, if this need is not met, it will generate anger, it will generate frustration sometimes. So what I'm asking you to do is do research on those needs, those different types of needs, and try to understand the behavior of human beings and your own behavior first through those needs. Why you're doing what you're doing, because there is a need. Sometimes you get angry. Why you are getting angry? Because of the need. If you understand that need, and then ask yourself a question, is this need a necessary need? Is it necessary to me? Yes, sometimes if I have conflict with someone and then I get angry, and the other person does not understand, here meaning intervenes because there is lack of meaning. So if you yourself, you don't understand why you get angry, it's a problem. But if you understand that need and you're going to tell that person, you know why I'm angry? Because I, as a human being, I need to do this. It's a need, it's a psychological need. I have it as a human being. And you have just blocked that need. Or you have done something that has thwarted that need. So that will help you understand yourself, but it will help the others understand you as well. Now, the important thing to keep in mind when we think about ourselves as human beings is that we are affected by feelings, which affects our thoughts, which affects our actions. Now, most importantly, what is important is that feelings affect thinking, yes? But the most important thing is that thinking affects feelings. So we do what we do because we think in a given way, yes? So feeling is the active ingredient that determines what we do. But thinking is also very, very important. It affects our actions. So our emotions, needs, thoughts, and actions are interwoven. And if we look at emotions or feelings, understanding how they drive us, the first thing we need to understand is, what am I feeling today? What is the feeling that I have right now? You have done something to me. What is the feeling? So I should name the feeling first. Is it anger? If it is anger, if you look at the wheel that we have, if it is anger, is it anger that is related to disrespect because I was disrespected? Or was I ridiculed? Or was I violated? Or am I jealous? That's why I'm angry. Or what makes me angry? What type of feeling is it? So I identify the feeling first in order to understand why I'm feeling like this and why I acted the way I acted, or why I thought what I thought and then why I acted the way I acted. And understanding the relationship between these three important components is greatly important. The last thing that I probably talk about when it comes to personal development, or the one before the last, is understanding our drivers. One thing that makes us understand our drivers, ourselves, is understanding what drives us as human beings. And each human being has one important driver, or one that is the major driver in your life. When you look at these pictures, what you see is, of course, you see Superman, but Superman stands for a driver. And you see syphilis, and you see a guy who is measuring, I don't know what, a tray, yes? And you see a lady holding a clock, and she's running, and you see another lady saying yes, yes, yes. So what these are, if you look at the slide to the right, the picture to the right, sorry, you have people who are driven by perfectionism. They want everything to be perfect. And you see that there is an allower. So what allows you to live life at ease is you will be okay if you're just yourself. So it's okay to be yourself. And it's okay to be yourself means we as human beings, we make errors. We are not perfect, and the whole world is not perfect, and you have to take it easy. There are others who are driven by pleasing everyone, and that's the yes, yes, yes lady. Yes. So sometimes you need to learn to say no. It's important to learn to say no. So pleasing others will not make you happy at the end, but it is okay to consider and please yourself. And if you please others, that's fine. I mean, it's fine as long as you focus also on pleasing yourself. And there is work that is done, of course, in coaching around all these drivers so that we can regulate them. And I'm just sharing them with you. As I said, I'm just giving flashes. There are people who are driven by the being strong driver, which is you're only okay if you hide your feelings and wants from people. And that's, generally speaking, as an example, people like this, they don't ask for help because they feel like if they ask for help, they people will look down at them or will underestimate them. And there are different people around. I've been coaching groups, and sometimes you ask people, and many people say, yes, I am that kind of person. I never ask for help because I think that I can do it by myself, and so on and so forth. But we are humans after all. And there are others who are driven by trying hard. And these are the ones who say, I am only okay if I keep trying hard to do what I want to do. And they never do what they want to do, or they end up spending years preparing for what they want to do because they think that they have to try very, very hard. And it's okay to just start. For these people, it's just, if you have an idea, just start it right now. I mean, just start it no matter how small that idea is, or even if it's not perfect, just start it. And the last one is the lady with the clock, who is hurrying up. And because she wants to do things very quickly, she wants to do things right now. And sometimes you need to give things time, or give time to time, as the English people say. And the last thing, as I said in this part, is focusing on habits. This is a very funny video. I'm not going to share it right now, but you can find it online. It's a very funny video comparing how the same person might have different lives based on the habits. And habits, of course, shape us. There are books that have been written on habits that are very, very helpful. One of them is the book by Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habits. It explains how habits are powerful and how they shape us, and how they shape the way we do things. And it's very, very interesting to do research about how your habits affect you. So if I just ask you a question, what do you do every day when you wake up? And you're going to find out that most of the times you do the same thing. So if I ask myself, for example, what I have for breakfast, it's very rare that I change the things that I have for breakfast. So which is because they have become part of me. But asking ourselves about the habits that we have, what do we do every day? When we have free time, what do we do? Do we watch soccer? I'm talking about myself here because I watch soccer very often. Do we read books? Do we connect with people? Do we connect with family? What do we do? So asking ourselves questions about habits, the habits that we have developed and how they shape us, is a very, very important question to get into finding meaning about who we are and developing ourselves, developing personally speaking. And there is an exercise we might do that relates to what we have been talking about, which is called the wheel life exercise. If you have never seen it, I bet some people have seen it, but it's a very, very important exercise. If you draw this circle and you write the things that I have in front of us, that we have in the slide, which are love, personal growth, family, self-image, health, fitness, social friends, spiritual life, recreation, fun, finance, wealth, career, contribution. We may add more, but generally speaking, the exercise contains these things, these elements. And then you score each one on 9 on the basis of how much time you devote to each part, and how much energy and how much thinking and feeling and emotions you give to each part, and try to see what are your priorities and what are things that are not part of your priorities that you want to be part of your priorities. As you see here, the score for family, for example, is 3. The score for contribution to, contribution to human development, contribution to human understanding is 1. Career is 6. Finance and wealth is 5. And then spiritual life is 3. And love is 9. So you can do it on your own. You can do your own exercise, your own real life exercise. And then you ask yourself a question: are you satisfied with the way you're leading your life, or you're not? What are the components or the elements that you need to probably care more about? Do you need to care more about personal growth? Do you need to care more about family? Do you need to care more about your self-image or health or social friends, etc., etc.? That's a very, very helpful exercise as well in personal development. Now, when we look at the second part of the presentation today, which is seeking professional growth, you can think of many things at the same time. I'll focus on some tips or some ideas, and you can come up with more ideas if you want. But these are the ones I think that are the most important ones in terms of what I have been exploring and discovering. And the first thing to get in mind is what type of world do we live in today? Setting the context, as we did when we watched the Circus. So we can also do the same thing and ask ourselves a question: what type of world do we live in today? I'm just trying to move the. Yeah, fine, thank you. Generally speaking, there are names, there are different definitions that were given to the world we live in today. And one of them is the VUCA term. The VUCA stands for, it's an acronym. VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complex, and ambiguous. So the world we live in today is volatile, which means it is moving very rapidly, it's moving very fast. It's uncertain. So we don't know how the world will look like tomorrow or even this evening, especially after COVID-19, we really don't know. So we never know what might happen. And just one thing about uncertainty: in the past, we could predict, human beings were able to predict what will happen in the next few years. And now we cannot. It's hard, it's very, very hard to predict. So instead of predicting, we should base every decision we make or every action we take on anticipating. So we anticipate instead of predict. We cannot predict, so we anticipate. And we anticipate, it means we get ready. We prepare. We'll talk about it when it comes to the challenges that we have today in the world. So, and as you read from Watkins Allen, a great book called Coherence, he wrote, the business world we live in today is vastly different from the environment even 20 years ago, and almost unrecognizable to the corporate environment of 100 years ago. And as you go on, these things will become faster. And we may change the 100 years with 60 or 50 years ago. We're going to say the world today is unrecognizable to the corporate environment of 50 years ago, and so on and so forth. So which means that the world is evolving so fast. And understanding this context is very, very important to the meaning we want to create at the professional level. Now, when we look at the challenges versus capacities, because that's what the professional world and even the personal world is based on. It's when you're capable, when you are able to strike a balance or an equilibrium between your capacities and the challenges you're facing. So in the professional world, there are a number of challenges, of course, and all these challenges can be put within the framework of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguous development, and in reference to the environment that we live in today. And you can relate it to everything. For example, in your job, if you are a teacher today, 4 years ago or 3 years ago, you were teaching in class. Today, last year and the year before the last, or probably 2 years ago, you taught using internet and using computers, and you didn't have a choice. And everything is evolving. Everything is uncertain. Everything is becoming more complex. So complex, for example, that we had to learn, all of us as professors, and everyone, including people who don't work as professors, who have other jobs. We were faced with it was mandatory. We had to learn how to use technology. And even the ones who resisted for a long time, they had to do it or they just were left behind. If they didn't, they were left behind. So that's the thing. So if you're not capable of facing the challenges, you will be left behind. And as I said, it is evolving very fast. And the framework to the left helps us understand this dichotomy or the relationship or the duality of capacity versus challenges. And what you're doing every day, if you're satisfied with what you're doing, this is your performance zone because you have learned how to do it. So you're going to do it tomorrow. But as the challenges grow higher, the stress as well gets higher if the capacities are not there. So if you do not have capacity, so you will be stressed, you will really be highly stressed and you will just lose it. But if you have developed capacity for the challenges that you're going to face in the future, so you are developing the potential zone. That's what we call potential. So when someone tells you, I have potential, you ask them, what do you mean by potential? What we mean by potential is as the challenges grow, so your capacities are going to be able to face those challenges. So you have that potential zone, you have developed potential. Or you are at the performance edge because now you are performing no matter how the challenges are high today. So you are performing at the level of those challenges. So you have developed this performance edge. So you're not in the comfort zone, just performing because you have learned it, because you have done it for many times. So that it has become part of you. So that's a performance zone. Now, the first thing that we wanted to do, probably it's an exercise. It's also a coaching exercise, but I can share it with you and you can do it on your own later. So create for yourself, create a massive transformative purpose. Professionally speaking, create a massive transformative purpose. So that helps you move beyond the comfort zone. That is to say, moving beyond your performance zone. You are a teacher, you go to class, you teach your classes, you teach your students, you go back home. That's it. That's what you're doing. This is not a massive transformative purpose. This is just a job. So how are you going to create this massive transformative purpose? Of course, there is a template, a canvas that is used. You can find it online. If you write massive transformative purpose canvas or MTP canvas, you're going to find it. And massive transformative purpose, generally speaking, it answers 3 questions: why, how, what. So why does the organization exist? So you as a professor or as a teacher or as a doctor or as a pilot or whatever you're doing, why do you exist as a pilot or as a professor? Or do you exist just to go to class, teach those kids, and that's it? And what type of transformation do you want to achieve? So when we look at the canvas, it tells you write values. So you're going to write probably 3 or 4 or 5 values. Write things you are longing to do. What are you longing to do? Yes. And then what is your superpower? And what superpower means is what are the strategies and the skills and the capacity that you have that will help you achieve what you're longing to do? And then what is your kingdom? That is to say, where do you excel most? Who are the people you're going to care for when it comes to this transformative purpose? What is the challenge? What footprint do you want to leave? What impact do you want to leave in terms of professionally speaking? But we can also do it in terms of personal development as a human being, not as a teacher, not as a pilot, but as a human being. You can create your massive transformative purpose as a human being. What is the path you're going to take towards this massive transformative purpose? And then you write the massive transformative purpose you want to achieve. The second thing is, are you going to choose growth or are you going to choose safety? I would rather say choose growth over safety. And what this means is there is a very famous story of a fisherman and a businessman. And I'm not going to tell the whole story, but you can find it online as well, where this fisherman is fishing few fish and the businessman comes from far behind very far place for tourism. And then he sees this fisherman at the shore fishing those fish or fishes. and he comes towards him and he asks him how many fish does he fish, why isn't he fishing more, and he's telling him, providing him with a business model to fish more and then become a millionaire or a billionaire. And then at the end, so the fisherman keeps asking why, and then the last question is, then you're going to have a lot of money and you can go to a different country, rest by the beach and probably fish a few fish. And then the fisherman says, that's what I'm doing right now. And this story has been used most often to tell people that they have to be satisfied with their lives. But I use it in a different way. For me, I would ask a question: would you be the fisherman and just be safe where you are, or would you opt for growth? Because if you become a businessman and you're not just a fisherman, so there are other things that you can do. If you define or if you identify a massive transformative purpose, you can get a lot of money to help others, for example. You can, connect with people and learn from them. You can do a lot of things. So you're going to get out of your comfort zone, something that we will see very soon. So I'd better choose growth over safety. So what do we mean here, professionally speaking? So do not satisfy yourself, do not content yourself with what you're doing in terms of professional performance, in terms of performance. Try to learn more, try to grow, try to evolve. Evolving depends. It's not just promotion, it's not getting promoted, but it's about getting diplomas, it's about learning new skills, it's about developing new strategies, it's about meeting new people and so on and so forth. So try to reach growth instead of just being safe where you are. Now, keep redefining success is very important. It's related to this. Sometimes we look at people and we think that, okay, we are successful, and we just compare ourselves to someone and say, okay, probably we are more successful than they are because we define success in a given way, but we are not seeing the whole picture. So as I tell people sometimes when I'm either teaching or coaching, I say, it's not what you look at, and you look at the picture that says success is not always what you see. Yes. So it's not what you look at, it's what you see. It's not what you look at. What you're looking at is that this guy, you're better than this guy, the other guy, because you probably, I don't know, you're thinking that your carrot is bigger than his, but which is not the case all the time. So keep redefining success. It's important. So keep redefining success means define whether you are at the comfort zone here, where you are safe and controlled, and or are you in the fear zone? Are you already in the fear zone? So you're doing things that you fear. So if you're doing things that you fear or you're scared of, and you're affected by others' opinions, as you see in or you are either finding excuses, so you're going to go back to the comfort zone and you are comfortable, or you're going to keep pushing in the fear zone. You're doing things that you fear, you keep pushing until you reach the learning zone, and you are acquiring new skills, and you're extending the comfort zone, and you are solving problems, you're facing challenges, and you are growing, you're reaching the growth zone, so you're living dreams. So that's part of meaning, of course. So finding purpose and setting new goals and conquering objectives and so on and so forth. So keep asking this question: am I in the comfort zone? Are there things that I fear doing? Am I doing them? Because if I don't do them, I'm not going to learn. If I don't learn, I'm not going to grow. So that's also part of keep growing. Developing skills is very, very important, but what type of skills are we developing here? And if you want to focus on the skills, because first you need to clarify things, you have to be clear, and then you have to be consistent, and then you have to focus, and then you have to be consistent. So remember these three words, they are very important. Be clear about what you want to do, then focus on what you should do, and then be consistent or be coherent. So if we apply this to the skills that we want to develop, first be clear about what skills do you want to develop. There are many reports that you're going to find online that talk about 21st century skills. One of them is the report from the World Economic Forum for students, and the other one is from UNESCO. And I'm not going to go into the details, but generally speaking, when you look at the skills that are needed, for example, for students to approach the changing environment, because we talked about the VUCA environment. So these are the skills that are needed: curiosity, taking initiative, persistence, adaptability, leadership, social and cultural awareness. Well, we as professors or as schools in education, do we develop these skills? Generally speaking, schools develop foundational literacies, and some schools now are talking about the 4 C's. They are trying to build competencies, But are we focused on developing character qualities? So first I have to ask myself, have I developed some of these character qualities? Am I helping my students as well develop these character qualities? And that's part of, I think, of professional development that teachers today should do. That is to say, focus on the 21st century skills and ask themselves questions. Do we know them? Do we know these skills? Why are they meaningful? Why do we need to develop them? How can I develop them in myself? And how can I help my students develop these 21st century skills? This is a think, pair, share activity that we do in seminars. Sometimes if you have breakaway rooms. And thank you, Mohammed. I guess Mohammed is no more here, but yeah, okay, fine. So what is your teaching philosophy? What is the ultimate goal, impact you are seeking? And where do your job, your purpose, and your passion meet? It's also an important question to make. And keep innovating. I have stolen this from a guy called Kawasaki. So you can find his YouTube video on YouTube. He talks about innovating products, and he comes up with 10 elements that help for him that will help or that help innovators innovate products. But if we apply them to our professional development, they look really great. So make meaning means create a mantra, and creating a mantra means create a mission. What is your mission? Professional speaking, what are you focused on? So if you say I'm teaching English or I'm teaching Arabic, this is not a mantra. This is your job. This is what you do. This is the action. But what is your mantra? So if you say, for example, I'm helping young people grow, that's a mantra. So that's what we mean by a mantra. So set a mantra for yourself. What is your mantra? Jump to the next curve. That's part of evolving. Do not stay where you are. So help yourself develop, and so on and so forth. Roll the dice means do not just do one thing. You're not going to just teach English and stop. So professionally speaking, you need to learn a number of skills and try to incorporate those in your profession. That's part of professional development. Today, for example, interdisciplinarity, cross-disciplinarity are very, very important. If you're teaching, for example, physics, it's not sufficient today to just teach physics. I mean, you can teach physics, but in order to understand physics, you need to understand other things through other fields. So that's also part of rolling the dice. Don't worry, be crappy. He means by this, do not worry about making mistakes. So that is to say, products can be crappy sometimes, but you as a human being, professionally speaking, you're going to make mistakes. And through making these mistakes, you're going to learn. Embrace all opportunities you find. So never say no to opportunities. Polarized people means some people are going to be happy with what you're doing. Others are not going to be happy with what you're doing. Because I am not sure if you heard this, but I heard this many times. Oh, well, you're just a teacher of English, just teach English, and that's it. I mean, why you're doing what you're doing? Why you're learning this? Why you're getting those diplomas? So don't worry. Polarized people. It's okay to polarize people. Keep experimenting, because through experimenting you will learn. And then niche thyself. Niche thyself means find important fields where you are going to excel, and where you excel, so those fields are going to be your professional fields. Pitch yourself, or pitch perfectly, means know how to talk about what you're doing, know how to pitch. That is to say, if you give you 3 minutes to talk about what you are capable of doing, how are you going to use those 3 minutes? So develop new mindsets, because that new mindset, of course, helps you develop new results. And these are the pictures. One last thing, or probably the one before the last, is that when you are pitching yourself, you should always remember this. This is used in marketing, of course, but to market products. But it is important to talk to people about this. Are you unique? If you are just unique, if what you're doing is unique, then people are not going to care. I mean, professionally speaking, you're not going to be successful because you are unique. But if you're unique and valuable, you see the cross here, that's where we want to be. Professionally speaking, you want to be valuable, so you want to have value, what you're providing, professionally speaking, what you're providing your students, for example, is valuable and unique at the same time. So you need to seek this equilibrium between being unique and having value. So you're valuable. So you're not unique, but you are valuable. You're not going to stand out. If you are not unique and not valuable, so you are a fool. If you are unique but not valuable, it's a problem. And I think that the most important thing to keep in mind about professional development is learn. But in order to learn, you need to unlearn. And when you learn about yourself, for example, you learn about what you're doing, and you're asking questions, you're reflecting, you're raising questions about whether what you're doing is the right thing to do or not. You are unlearning. Sometimes you're going to unlearn things. You're going to find out that what you're doing is not what should be done. So let's do it differently. So you're going to relearn. And learning should be at the heart of what you're doing in general, professionally speaking. If you're not learning every day, well, you're wasting time. And as Alvin Toffler said, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn and relearn. And we can illustrate this by talking about unknown unknowns. If you look at the diagram, what you will see is that there is a relationship between confidence and expertise. So if you put both on different ends, and you will see that this person here who is at the higher level or the highest level of confidence, but the lowest level of expertise, says, look around you and behold my masterpiece. So thinking of himself as the master, as the best, professionally speaking. But you see someone here at the end who is saying, incompetent fool, that one. Why? Because this guy has developed confidence, but has also developed expertise. That is to say, he has learned, or she has learned, or they have learned what they need to learn. While this guy has developed unknown unknowns. And you have this proverb that is sometimes called the Persian proverb. I don't know if it's Persian or Chinese or Arabic, but it says, he who knows and knows that he knows and still wants to know is wise. Follow him, he who knows not and knows that he knows not and wants to know is a child. Teach him, he who knows not and knows not that he knows not and still don't want to know is a fool. Let him be. But that's just a proverb, so I'm not going to ask you to let people be if they don't want to know. But to illustrate, I always ask people a question about the ostrich. And I tell them, what do you know about the ostrich? I want you to think about it very quickly. What do you know about the ostrich? And sometimes people say, okay, ostriches bury their heads in the sand when they are scared or threatened. But when you do your research, so this is an unknown for many people. This is an unknown, just to illustrate that there are a lot of unknown. But when you do your research, you find out that ostriches are flightless birds and they are unable to build nests in trees. So they lay their eggs in holes, dug them in the ground to make sure that the eggs are evenly heated. They occasionally stick their heads into the nest to rotate the eggs. And that dispels the myth about ostriches. And this is an analogy that we can apply to everything we want to know or we want to learn, professionally speaking, or even personally speaking. Sometimes we need to ask questions. Do I know what I'm talking about? So I one day in one workshop, I asked a group of professors and teachers, what is it that you want to develop in your students? And they gave me a number of answers. And one of the answers was autonomy. And I asked them, what is autonomy? And well, they were given answers, and most of the answers were unknown. That is to say, autonomy for them is unknown. So the question is, have you done any research about autonomy? Have you read what the literature says about autonomy? If you are a teacher and you're supposed to develop autonomy in kids, so have you learned about it? And you can go, the list is long. Each time we should ask questions about whether we know what we know or whether what we know is an unknown. And I want to share these things with you. So these are things to develop in ourselves and to develop in our students. And they may relate to professional development, they may relate to personal development, but define your locus of control. Are you focused on how you can influence your life and the lives of others and life in general? Or are you focused on problems and obstacles and external problems and obstacles? So locus of control is very important. Develop a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. So you can do your research about it if you have never read the book by Carol Dweck on growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Look at self-determination, what it means, and learn what it is. What are the components of self-determination? What are self-efficacy skills? What are self-regulated learning skills? These are things that help us grow personally and professionally and learn. And finally, move from happiness to meaningfulness through appreciating and growing, optimizing your well-being, empathizing with others, taking the initiative, managing your time, and setting your targets, as Selden Anthony said. And these are just, thoughts for, as they say, it's just food for thought. If you want to know whether you are moving forward in life, just see if you are a little more joyful today than you were yesterday. And to give life a meaning, one must have a purpose larger than self. Thank you very much. Dr. Samar?
Thank you, Doctor, for your effort today. I just want to add the link for their certificate, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you so much. I also added a link for we need them to add their comment on this link. So please, guys, I will put it again in the chat box. If you don't mind, please add a word to Dr. Abdulaziz in this link. Okay. Yeah, really, it was a wonderful session. It was so informative. Yeah, just a minute. We are always looking for your comments and words about the workshops. This makes us do better. Yeah. Yeah, I will add it just now. Okay. Please make sure that you write only 3 of your name, because some people write many names. So it becomes confusing to us when we do the certificates.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor, can we take time to them if anyone has a question to ask you?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I would be happy to do that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So anyone who wants to ask, please just raise the hand. I will mute you. Sorry, I will unmute you.
I think you have Mr. Ahmed Sharaf who raised his hand. But he has to unmute himself.
Yeah, I was just looking the meeting. I closed it because I don't want anyone to get in because of the certificates.
So if you have a comment or a question, you are welcome to share it online right now. So there is a question on the chat box by Nihal, who's saying, what kind of resources could we use to develop ourselves as teachers? If you're talking about the professional developments as teacher, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what are the fields I need to develop myself in? If you are a teacher, of course, you have to have a set of skills that have to do with classroom management, that have to do with the social psychology of teaching, that have to do with psychopedagogy, and so on and so forth. So it depends. What I would first advise you to do is focus on your day-to-day job. What are you doing? What are the challenges? So focus on the challenges. What are the challenges? And based on the challenges, you can identify what you want to focus on in terms of development. What books, what types of books you want to read, what types of articles you want to read, what types of videos you want to watch. Or if you connect with a group of people, for example, if you create, as a teacher, if you create a learning community, so what type of questions you need to ask when you are with this learning community, and whether you should do action research or not in order to develop your skill further. So that's what you should focus on. But there aren't specific resources to focus on. It depends on the challenge that you have. Authenticity is very, very important. Generally speaking, teachers are authentic because they develop their own style. So each teacher, generally speaking, each teacher develops his or her own style. But you're right, yes. So do not compare yourselves to others. So find your own style, but just build meaning. Building meaning means ask yourself a question: why am I doing what I am doing? So there is what we call make informed moves. Making informed moves as a teacher means when I take action in class, so I know why I'm taking action. I'll give you an example. If I ask my students a question, for instance, I need to ask myself, why am I asking this question? What type of skill I am targeting by asking the question I am asking? Am I just asking because I want to test whether they have memorized what they should memorize or not? Or is it because I want to test their analytical skills? So always ask yourself a question: why am I doing what I'm doing? If I give them an activity, why am I giving them this activity? You know what happens in classes sometimes? Students are challenging. Sometimes they tell you, you may have a student like this who tells you, I'm not going to do this activity. You're not going to just say, no, you have to do it because I am an authority. And this is also a very, very big issue. The power dynamics is an important issue when you are a teacher. So you're not going to just say, no, you're going to do it because I'm the authority here. I am the teacher. No, raise the question, why you don't want to do it? Or why am I asking them to do these activities? These are important questions that can help us identify meaning behind what we are doing as well.
Doctor, I think that one of the problems that teachers face is the time, because they are really busy all the time in the morning, and then when they go home, maybe they have other work, and maybe also they have family, so they don't have time to get more professional in their field. So what's your advice in this part?
First, let me tell you this. If you are a teacher and you love what you're doing, if you love teaching, even if you don't have time, it's always with you. It's always in your mind. Even if you have family, and even if you're at home, you have problems with kids. You know, sometimes you're sleeping. That happens to me, and I think it happens to every teacher who loves teaching. You're sleeping and you're thinking about what you did today. Was it the right thing to do? Why did I behave like this in class? how should I change this? So this reflection is very, very important. And then if this reflection is informed by what the literature says about what you're doing, it is informed by research, that's a plus. If you have time for that, it's a plus. If you don't have time, you have to find time for that, because it's part of what you should be doing. Your job is not just a job. It's not just a salary. So that's what we said. It's not just a salary. So you want to really become one of the best in what you're doing, and then you're growing. You're trying to grow. So you have to find time for that. But I bet that everyone, I mean, it's in your mind. It's always, you're always thinking about, how can I be better? How can I make my students learn better? So you're doing it because you love that.
Yeah, yes, I see. Also, doctor, there is something that I don't know why always teachers ask, if I attend this workshop, will I have a certificate? Is it important to have a certificate or to learn? Because this is a big problem, and even though they want to join a conversation class and they asking about certificates, so why is it important?
I think,
And how? Yeah.
I think I'm going to just say that those who care more about this, or who care only about the certificates, are the problem. But if you're going to attend and then you ask about a certificate, that's fine, because we know that sometimes, for example, there are doctoral students who need certificates. Yes. But if you just need a certificate for the need of certificate, because this happened in some of the webinars I had, like someone would attend at the end to get that certificate, that's a problem. Yes. So yes, as you said, the focus should be learning first, and then certificates, it's the easiest part. But I sometimes understand, because there are some teachers who need certificates to get promoted. There are doctors who need doctoral students who need certificates for their doctoral studies. That's fine, but the focus, and this is what we mean by meaning. And it's like sometimes I have fun in class, and I joke with my students, tell them, you need to set purpose before you step into the classroom. And I know that you already have that purpose. So if your purpose is like, you're waiting for me to call your name and just you're going to say, yes, I am here, and you're happy, yes, here I am, and I achieved my purpose because that's what I'm here for. So I tell them this is a mediocre objective. And it's the same thing if your focus is on getting the certificates, but you're not trying to learn anything, or you're not here to connect and share ideas, and you're connecting with people to get to know people and create a network. That's a very mediocre objective if you're just focused on the certificate for the sake of a certificate.
Yeah, absolutely right. This is what I always say. You first need to learn. There is a formal certificate you have to take. Exactly, this is something important. You have to take a formal certificate from universities or something like that. After that, you can have you have the process of learning by attending webinars or maybe workshops, courses, and so on. Later on, you can ask about more certificates. If you are not if you are not in the right way, you will lose everything. So if you, for
Right.
example, would like to join CELTA course and you don't have the ability to pass this course, so you will have later on a problem because you will not pass it. You will lose time, you will lose your effort, you will lose money. So why is it important for you to take a certificate? It's better to join courses or workshops that help you to get more professional. Then you can go to CELTA. It will be better for you. So it's a professionalism. It's like steps you take to get to be a professional or for your proficiency. It's not just a lift you take, or you want to take it in just 1 month and I have a certificate. British Council, please, I want to work with you, right?
Yeah, right, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for your effort today, doctor. I know you are an early bird, so you have to go to bed now.
Thank you, Dr. Samar, Sami, for the efforts and for the invitation. Thank you everyone for your patience and for listening. And I hope we can connect soon to collaborate and learn from each other. Assalamu alaikum. Bye bye.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much. I wish you it was beneficial, right?
ولا